Welcome to Bible Over Brews, deep thoughts ferment over time and text. I'm coming at you, Derinkuyu juice for Verka, and I've got Keith.
Derinkuyu to you too.
And I've got Gumby.
Hey, what's up? You got me.
We're going to be diving deep tonight, as you can see on our presentation if you're watching our video. But we're going to start with Jameson Triple Triple. Jameson Triple Triple is a smooth Irish whiskey made with extra care. It's triple distilled and aged in 3 types of casks: bourbon, sherry, and Malaga wine. This gives it more flavor while staying light and easy to enjoy. Bottled at 40% ABV, which is 80 proof. It's perfect for sipping over ice or in a cocktail. Gentlemen, enjoy.
Cheers.
Cheers. Don't spill.
This is going to pair great with these Gurkhas.
That's right.
When you said triple, I thought to myself, I wonder which was the last basketball player to get a triple. And I realized that would involve scoring like 100 points, getting 100 rebounds, and 100 assists.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
Triple doubles.
Triple doubles,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
happen. I think like actually maybe it was in my head because I think LeBron James became like the oldest guy ever to get a triple double recently or something like that.
Oh, nice.
I could be quoting that wrong. I'm sure somebody will
That's
stat check me here, but
probably pretty safe bet.
I mean, his stats have barely fallen off over the years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
This has a fantastic nose on it.
It's very sippable. I have to
Oh,
confess,
man.
I accidentally sipped it like 3 times before we started because it was that sippable.
Irish whiskey.
That is delicious.
Like, in the morning you have like orange juice, coffee, and really this should be right next to it.
Right? An Irish coffee.
Don't even mix them. Like you now have 3 drinks
That's right.
separately at breakfast.
Well, it is known for being insanely smooth. So,
Definitely.
That is good. I just started watching this Irish mob show on Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
it,
Can't
it's,
think of
it's
the
not
name.
Peaky Blinders, is
It
it?
is.
It's on
It
my
is.
list. It's like very high on my list right now.
My son got me and he's like, Dad, I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
And I started watching one. I'm like, yeah, I'm hooked.
I've heard that it's so good that
It
there's 2
is.
people in this world, those who enjoy Peaky Blinders and those who haven't seen it.
Nice.
It is definitely on my list of things to watch.
Yeah, it's good so far. So I'm only
Nice.
into the 3rd episode, but
Wait, is
well
this a new thing? I'm confused.
no, it's new to me, but it's
Oh, okay.
really popular.
Yeah.
What
And I'm always
is
late.
it about?
Peaky Blinders. It's about like basically.
Oh, okay. Because someone had told me about a British series, and I probably heard about this like 5 weeks ago, and then I
Yeah,
forgot about it again.
it's
Such a
basically
funny name.
organized crime.
Yeah.
It's a very cheeky name.
Yeah,
Very British.
And Irish. it is from everything I've seen on it, I'm loving it. They wear my hats, so I'm down already.
well, and it's the guy from the movie Oppenheimer. He's such a good.
I love Cillian Murphy. I've always, if you guys remember, number 1, he did play the Scarecrow inside the Batman
right, I forgot.
movies.
Right.
Yeah, but where I really started enjoying him years ago was in a movie he was in called Red Eye, and he does not play the good guy, but his acting ability, I was like, oh my Lord, it blew me away. Like his acting was just so on par. I was like, this guy's brilliant.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's a fantastic actor.
it's definitely that in this. I won't give any spoilers.
It's actually a good brief diversion before we dive in. Is any other good TV folks been watching? I actually watch TV. I never watch TV. I watch YouTube.
Oh
Really?
man,
But I actually so the TV I usually get is by like whatever I see in the background
Yeah,
my wife is watching. And then
Okay.
like usually I'm like, well, I'll peek in like every like 3 episodes or something. But no, what gripped me? I mean, we spent like a whole week and we got all the way through Never Have I Ever on Netflix.
oh there you go.
It's a high school comedy. I mean, mostly comedy, but drama. It was written by Mindy Kaling, of course, of Office fame, and it's just really freaking funny. It's about an Indian girl who her dad dies in kind of like a very traumatic way. Like she sees it happen, and she's just she kind of like lashes out sometimes, and she gets into crazy predicaments. And like literally like the first episode, she goes to the most like she's just so unhinged. She goes to the most popular boy in school and is like, "We've never talked before, but I want to have sex with you." they don't go through with it. It's like she chickens out or whatever. But the like what's really funny about the show, what hits you at the very 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 beginning, because it's like literally the first thing.
Okay.
Is because her dad, like, because a lot of it's like her process and the death of her dad, like, and there's like various little like checkpoints throughout the whole 4 seasons, which is basically the whole time of high school. Because her dad's favorite athlete was John McEnroe. John McEnroe is the narrator for the whole show.
That's great.
Nice.
Except with the exception of there's a few episodes where they change it and do it from the perspective of one of her friends, and her one friend, his narrator is Andy Samberg, and then the other one what's the name of the what's that supermodel, like Hadid? Oh, Gigi Hadid is the other guy's narrator. And it's just so funny, like just the way he, like, especially John McEnroe, just the way he emotes. Like, it's not the voice at all you would expect for a narrator of a show about a teenage girl. It's the exact opposite.
That's great. It's kind of
it's a lot of fun. It was hard to keep away. It's very breezy, very silly.
Oh, that's awesome.
But also very heartfelt too. Like, there were like legit like tearjerker moments, but they didn't like hold them too long. So you'll crack up in the middle while you're crying. Like, it's that kind of show.
Ooh, that's the worst.
Well, have you dived into watch Mythic Quest yet?
Oh yeah, I'm like, I got stuck and I don't know why I fell off, but I was like 2 seasons in. Yeah, no, that's great.
It's a great
yeah,
series.
that is a great series.
Oh my Lord. It's like, I've always said that the best written comedy of all time was Community. And I still stand by that. But a really close runner-up is definitely Mythic Quest. Because just like in Community, where all the characters are very well fleshed out, very well done, very well written, Mythic Quest is. Like, every character has a distinctive personality, backstory, threads of different events that are happening all throughout. I was like, man, this is a really good series.
Strong agree. I need to get back to that one.
Yeah, very well done.
I have to check it out. We've been doing a research of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh yeah, can't go wrong there.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
And I will say that the rebooted Frasier is actually really good. Like, it's actually possibly better than the original Frasier.
Huh.
Yeah.
So they're new episodes?
Yeah.
Frasier?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're dropping the next season coming up. But it's really good. And there's a lot more. There's good heartfelt moments in the original.
Yeah.
There are even better heartfelt moments inside the sequel. And they actually build out on his storyline. So it's
interesting.
Yeah, it's very well done.
Are all the same people still alive?
Not all of them. Well, the father, it's actually in the storyline. I'm not really breaking anything for you because they cover this in episode 1.
Yeah.
The father passes away.
Gotcha.
So he's passed on. But a lot of the characters from the original Frasier either are referenced or do show up. Oh. So, yeah, it's good. It's good.
Oh. All right. Covered our pop culture.
That's right. So, Derinkuyu, the ancient underground city of Cappadocia. Now, this is fascinating. I did a deep dive on this myself, which is why I want to do this episode. Because this might be one of the most fascinating pieces of history to come up in recent time frame. Maybe even more fascinating than Göbekli Tepe. We could talk about that at a different time. But that is also fascinating because it kind of resets what we know about human culture. But this gets fascinating. The discovery of Derinkuyu sounds like something out of a legend, but it actually started with a very common problem: a farmer losing his chicken. In 1963, a homeowner in Cappadocia was renovating his house when he followed a lost chicken into a small crevasse and found a dark passageway. That passageway led to the largest excavated underground city in the world. A lost chicken revealed a massive 18-level city that had been forgotten for decades. The city was capable of sheltering up to 20,000 people for months at a time. It was only abandoned in 1923 when the Cappadocia Greeks were forced to leave the region, and it was lost to the modern world until that chance discovery. But how big this place really is? Let's look at the sheer scale of this marvel, and this is where it gets fascinating. This right here, as you can see, the lost city, the lost capital. It is 18 levels. Now, here's the thing. It says 18 levels, which is true, descending more than 85 meters, which is 280 feet beneath the Earth's surface. And they believe they have now discovered several more levels underneath that. So now they think it might be over 20 levels deep. And they've mapped over 12 miles of this. 12 miles of this. Think about that. 12 miles. Yeah, it's fascinating. The numbers here are staggering and really drive home the scale. Like I said, it's 85 meters, which is over 250 feet beneath the surface. This isn't just a bunker. It's a massive multi-story complex carved entirely out of rock. It could hold 20,000 people plus their livestock, supplies for extended periods of time. When I say livestock, I mean this place was big enough to hold not just the people, not just the livestock, but all of the water. They actually built this thing over top of an underground river. So they have fresh water at all times. Yeah, and they had plenty of storage for all of the feed for all of the animals and themselves. There's even areas where they found out they were gardening underground. So it's, yeah, it's fascinating. For expert periods. And remember, this is just the city. It's part of a network, get this, of over 200 underground cities in the region. Over 200 cities in the region that are all underground. Today, Derinkuyu is recognized as an UNESCO World Heritage Site, and we can only access about half of it to the public. But the sheer size raises a crucial question. What did people do down here for months at a time? It turns out they built a complete civilization. When we say Derinkuyu was a complete civilization, we mean it had everything necessary for a long-term survival and community life. This wasn't just a plot to hide. It was a place to live. We see evidence of underground dwellings, schools, and even a Byzantine missionary school with a barrel-vaulted ceiling. They even had designated waste disposal areas and burial chambers. But life wasn't just about hiding. It was about production. They had wineries, oil presses, and kitchens with ceilings still blackened by centuries of cooking. They even kept cattle and livestock on the upper levels, but none of this would be possible without the absolute critical elements: air and water. Let's look at the ingenious life support system that made it all possible. The most impressive feat of engineering here is the life support system, especially the ventilation. Imagine 20,000 people breathing in a sealed environment. To solve this, the builders created more than 50 ventilation shafts distributed across all the, well, it says 18 levels. Again, they believe they found a couple more. This sophisticated design ensured fresh air reached even the deepest parts of the city. Crucially, The redundant design meant that if an enemy tried to block one shaft, the city's air supply wouldn't be cut off. The water system was equally brilliant. They dug a protected well over 50, pardon me, 55 meters deep, tapping directly into the water tables below the city. This provided clean water and, most importantly, could be sealed off from below, preventing enemies from poisoning the supply. This level of engineering shows that the builders weren't just hiding, they were planning a long-term survival, and that planning extended to defense. So this is where it gets really interesting. We've seen how the city's survival...
Real quick, unless you get it to us somewhere else.
Boy.
When was this? When do we think this was built?
Ooh, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
We've seen how the city survived by providing air and and water, as well as waste. But how did they keep invaders out? This city was a fortress designed to repel invaders at every turn. The architecture itself was passive defense. They carved narrow, short hallways that forced intruders to move single file and stopping over disoriented in the dark labyrinth. But the real defense was active. Imagine a half-ton circular stone door, only movable from inside, sealing off an entire level. And these things were massive, literally a ton. And you could only move from the inside. You could move it over to an entire passageway so that nobody could get inside. Like, it was ingenious for its time period. Let me see. These doors had small holes in the center, allowing defenders to spear any invaders in the passageway. Each of the 18 levels could be sealed independently, turning the city into a series of isolated, impenetrable bunkers. Now that we understand the incredible engineering, let's look at who built it and why. And this is where we start getting into your history. After I sip this really amazing elixir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jameson.
You guys have any more elixir?
We're all Irish at heart.
That's right. Everyone's
Need
a
more?
little bit Irish.
Yeah. Oh.
No, hold on.
Thank you.
You got it, sir.
It was too smooth.
So good. The question of who built Derinkuyu leads us to the Bronze Age, one of the great civilizations of the ancient world, the Hittites. Now, if you remember, the Hittites actually are mentioned throughout the Old Testament. And we'll be doing some deep dives into some of the other cultures. I already have a whole presentation for us later when we do it on who the Assyrians are, and we'll be hitting the Hittites as well. The earliest construction is often attributed to them, the Hittites, perhaps around 1200 BCE. The Hittites were a major superpower, rivaling Egypt and Assyria, with their capital right here in central Anatolia. We know they were because Hittite artifacts have been found inside Derinkuyu. They likely excavated the first few levels when they were under attack, taking advantage of that soft volcanic rock we discussed earlier. This connection is significant because the Hittites are not just an archaeological footnote. They are deeply woven into the biblical narrative. And that leads us to the next slide. The Hittites appear throughout the Old Testament, connecting this ancient civilization directly to the biblical story. Before archaeology confirmed their existence in the 1900s, some scholars actually doubted the Hittites were real. But the Bible mentions them over 60 times. We see them in Genesis when Ephron, the Hittites, sells Abraham the family burial ground. We see them listed as inhabitants of Canaan. And most famously, we see Uriah the Hittite, who King David had killed to take his wife. That would have been Bathsheba. The presence of the Hittites here in Cappadocia grounded the story of Derinkuyu in the earliest history of the Old Testament world. But the Hittites only started the work. Another group came in and built the bulk of the city. So, anybody have any guesses of who those might be?
I'm looking at Wikipedia, so I should. I didn't find that part.
How dare you?
Oh, that's a really good
dare you.
pictures. Look at some of these. Look at that. Look at that. Wow.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Holy crap.
There's more coming up in here too.
Are they biblical?
Ishy sort of. So, while let me change the slide. All right. While the Hittites may have started the initial excavation, it was the Phrygians who truly transformed Derinkuyu into the massive complex we see today. The Phrygians were Iron Age architects, emerging after the Hittite Empire collapsed around the end of the first millennium BCE. They were known for their skill in carving rock, and they took those simple storage rooms and expanded them into a multi-level city. We attribute the official founding date of the city to this period, the 8th to the 7th century BCE. The Phrygians established the core infrastructure that would be used and expanded for the next 2 millennia. This brings us up to the New Testament era, where Cappadocia plays a surprisingly central role. Now I get to take a nice whiff of my cigar.
Mm-hmm. The Phrygians. I thought that was just a music theory term. I didn't know they were people.
I was just thinking about how, this was the redundant ventilation shafts sufficient for smoking cigars.
Oh, you know what? I don't.
Sure, if there was ventilation. Yeah.
I mean, there's over 50 of them.
Hey, yeah, there you go. Mm.
So
If they had wineries down there, come on.
they definitely had wineries down there. They even found the places where they'd squeeze the grapes out.
Whoa.
Cappadocia is not just a historical footnote. It is explicitly mentioned twice in the New Testament. Establish its importance to early Christianity. First on the day of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit descends, the crowd gathered in Jerusalem included residents from Cappadocia. This proves that the Jewish communities from the region were present at the very founding moment of the Christian faith.
Oh, that'd make them happy.
Second, Peter wrote his first letter to the persecuted believers scattered across the region, including Cappadocia. This letter shows that established Christian communities were already here facing brutal Roman persecution. It was these communities who would later rely on the underground cities for refuge, turning them into a vital sanctuary where the faith could survive and multiply.
Interesting.
It gets very interesting. So, after establishing the region's importance to early Christianity, we see the underground city reach its peak. The Byzantine era was truly the golden age of underground Christianity. This was driven by necessity, specifically the constant Muslim-Arab raids during the Arab-Byzantine Wars. For 4 centuries, Christians sheltered underground for months at a time. This is when Derinkuyu reached its maximum capacity, sheltering up to 20,000 people. We see this period reflected in the architecture, with the addition of a church on the lowest level and a uniquely barrel-vaulted chapel. These additions show that the city was not just a hiding place, it was fully functioning, sophisticated Christian community. But the theological roots of this community run even deeper. The Christian community in Cappadocia was not just surviving, it was thriving intellectually. This region produced 3 of Christianity's most influential thinkers, known as the Cappadocian Fathers: St. Basil the Great, his brother, St. Gregory of Nyssa, and their friend, St. Gregory of Nazianzus, shaped core Christian doctrine. Think about this. These theological giants were defining the faith while their congregations were literally hiding beneath the earth. This presence here in Cappadocia is a vital center for early Christian thought, and we can still see the physical evidence of their faith carved into the rock itself. It's fascinating, right?
It is.
As you can see here, see the vaulted ceilings? So this would have been one of the chapels. And it's absolutely gorgeous, fascinating. You can see where they still put some candles to show you where
That's towards the bottom.
Yeah, lower levels.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool, right?
Something they get, usually you think you would get like a little more basic down towards the bottom.
You'd think. The Christian transformed Derinkuyu from a simple refuge into a sacred space. We see this in the architectural features they added, like the church on the 5th level. There's also a 5th level one, complete with a rock-cut bench and altars. The barrel-vaulted chapel on the 2nd floor is a traditional Byzantine design, showing they brought their culture underground. While we don't have a confirmed baptismal font in Derinkuyu itself, the nearby Kamekli city, we'll bring that up in a second, that's in a slide coming up, does, which shows typical of the region's rock-cut churches. These spaces were not only for worship, but also for education, as evidenced by the Byzantine missionary school. The need for refuge was a constant throughout the city's history. So, as I'll show you coming up, this actually linked, like I said, 200 other cities. And Kamekli is very interesting. Derinkuyu's story is one of continuous refuge spanning nearly 2 millennia. It started with early Christians fleeing Roman persecution in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. Then the Arab-Byzantine Wars, which prompted this city's massive expansion and peak usage. Later, the tunnels offered protection from the Mongol invasion of the 14th century. Even the 20th century, Cappadocian Greeks used these tunnels to escape periodic persecution. This long history of survival shows how essential these underground cities were to preserving Christianity in Anatolia. But some theories suggest the city's purpose might be far older than military defense. And this is where we get into...
We're going aliens?
Not necessarily aliens.
I'm just joking. But wait, is that a freaking body in there? Like a petrified body?
It's so that's one that's in there. It's not a real body, but
Okay.
that's where they would have put a body to air out, and then before they would, either cremate it or put it into its sepulcher. So now we pivot to a controversial alternative theory that challenges the mainstream timeline. This theory suggests Derinkuyu might be far older, perhaps dating back to the Younger Dryas period over 11,000 years ago. The Younger Dryas was a sudden, dramatic return to Ice Age conditions, possibly triggered by a comet impact. Proponents, like Graham Hancock, argue that Derinkuyu was built as a massive long-term bunker to survive this global catastrophe. They point to flint tools marks that match prehistoric tools found nearby. This theory suggests the scale of the city points to a preparation for an existential long-term event, not just a seasonal siege. But what does the archaeological consensus say? And then here's the mainstream argument. We just discussed the idea that Derinkuyu might be 11,000 years old. But what does the hard evidence tell us? Mainstream archaeology points to a much more recent construction, specifically the Bronze and Iron Age. The consensus is that the Hittites around the 15th century BCE likely started the initial excavations for storage rooms. But the massive expansion, the multi-level complex we see today, is accredited to the Phrygians. They were the master architects of the Iron Age, and they built the bulk of the city in the 8th and 7th centuries BCE. This timeline is supported by artifacts found inside and by the oldest written references to underground dwellings in the region. So while the Ice Age theory is intriguing, the scientific evidence firmly places the city's origins in the last 3 millennia. But let's look at a fascinating ancient text that complicates this dating.
Poor Graham Hancock.
Wait, while you're still on the map.
Yes.
So where Cappadocia is like right in the middle, right, of Turkey?
Yeah, of Turkey, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's an expansive area, and the underground cities expand out from there because, like I said, there's like 200 of them. They've already mapped like 12 miles of just this one city alone. There's more, and we'll be touching on that. In fact, before we get into this, we should probably dive into our next drink because we're about halfway through the slides.
Yeah. I did get thirsty as soon as you said Ice Age.
So,
Poor Graham. They're always poo-pooing on him.
they're always poo-pooing
Say
on
we're in
poor
the new
Graham
Ice Age.
Hancock.
What?
This is Yuengling. Why did I choose Yuengling? I chose Yuengling because Yuengling just expanded to their latest brewery in Wisconsin. So that's why I chose Yuengling. I wanted to celebrate Yuengling for their constant reminder that they are the oldest brewery in the country, and they have done a phenomenal job making one of the most enduring lagers in American history.
Amen
So,
to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Pour one out for Yuengling. You know, they already have plenty of ones.
And this is their classic lager, the one that's been around perhaps the longest.
We've talked before on this episode about making cross-state beer runs to go get Yuengling.
Uh-huh.
We
Like,
did.
It wasn't actually sold around here.
God bless my father, who passed away 2 years ago. This was his favorite beer.
Nice.
My father would literally go to Pennsylvania, pick up a bunch of cases, and he would grab a couple of kegs to bring back to his place. He had his kegerator, which I have now inherited, and I'm restoring. That's the kegerator over there. That was my
Yeah.
father's.
Looks amazing.
Thank you. I'm currently restoring that, and at some point we'll have a working kegerator here in the studio. But yeah, he
Look
would.
at that color. Man,
It's that beautiful gold.
that is amber. Beautiful. Amber.
And that lovely nose. Always consistently thirst quenching. Good Lord, I do love Yuengling. All right. Now, let's dive a little deeper.
So before you move on, though, most people don't take his theory that serious, or is it just not enough evidence to
Mainstream
support it?
archaeologists do. Let's talk about that for a second. So, mainstream archaeologists do not take Graham Hancock seriously. And the main reason for that is because of hard evidence. So, in hard evidence, there's only a couple of hints that he might be correct. The stone flint tool markings, for example. Now, those were used, of course, for centuries, even into the later ages. So it wouldn't be conclusive, right? But the hard evidence that's found there does point to the last 3 millennia. The hard evidence does. That's not to say there isn't other evidence out there, but the hard evidence on site does point to everything we just covered.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Graham Hancock. I mean, I forgot about him for a long time, but I would put him in the kook bucket.
Really?
I mean, he's this is the first paragraph about his thing. It's like argues that an advanced society with spiritual technology thrived during the last ice age until comic impacts triggered the Younger Dryas about 12,900 years ago, which is interesting. But actually, though, I was gonna say, despite that making it sound like maybe he's often not taken. Because when you said he's not taken seriously, I was like, was he not taking serious about this or not taken seriously in general? I'm thinking it's more of the latter. But the first thing that came to my mind, as you mentioned that time frame, was the prevalence of really, really old, sophisticated settlements in Turkey, particularly Göbekli Tepe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Which actually kind of rewrites some of what we know about history.
Yeah, because it's like this freaking huge like city state. Basically, I'm trying to remember how many people it had. Was it like up to 50,000 people? It was at least 10. It was at least 10,000 people, and it was back around 10,000 BC.
Yeah,
which is insane when you think about when we typically associate cities emerging. That's like that's like basically like we've barely gotten to agriculture at that point.
Yeah, and there's good evidence that they were a sophisticated society.
Yeah,
because there's actually, if you go through, and I don't want to venture too far because it actually connects a couple of other things that we can talk about. So we should actually do a whole episode on it. But Göbekli Tepe is definitely thinking we need to rewrite a little bit of history.
Mm-hmm. Didn't we have a guest on here who's like ready to rip into Graham?
Uh-huh.
I can't remember the guy's name.
I'm sad I missed that.
Oh,
he's been on twice. I'm sure you were here for one of them.
We're planning on having him on again.
Okay.
To actually rip into him maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think
Mr. David Falk.
Ah, that's his name. All right.
I've definitely missed at least one with him on, but I've maybe made another one where he was on. That sounds about right. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
But there is some interesting things, and we're going to. I'm thinking about connecting some of Göbekli Tepe into talking about the Younger Dryas because that is a topic that is getting more and more attention for a very good reason. And I think I can connect it to some real things that happened. So we'll talk about that in a whole episode because
anyone can, you can.
I guess, sir. It's fascinating. I did connect it to another event. So I think that we should just do a whole episode around the Younger Dryas. And I think at that point we could probably talk about Göbekli Tepe.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
And speaking of being poo-pooed on, Hittites were always poo-pooed on in the Bible.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Poor Hittites. They just weren't chosen enough.
Well, they were a fierce power.
Fierce power. King Solomon didn't mind the Hittite women, though.
No, or any women for that matter.
He did not. Yeah,
he
was an equal opportunity lover.
If
that is for sure.
If you were a lady, he was going to marry you.
Yeah. You could have been a chair. I'm sure he would have.
So there is a Zoroastrian connection, and I do have a scheduled episode for us on Zoroastrianism. This brings us to a compelling ancient text, the Zoroastrian Vara legend. The Zoroastrian faith is one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, and its sacred text, the Venedad, contains a startling specific prophecy. The supreme deity, Ahura Mazda, warns King Yima of a coming catastrophe. But it's not a flood. It's a fatal winter, a sudden, devastating ice age. This description aligns perfectly with the Younger Dryas event, which we discussed earlier. The command is clear. Yima must build a mighty vara, an enclosure, to save the seeds of all life, men, women, cattle, and fire. This is a blueprint for a self-contained, long-term survival bunker. Now let's look at the architectural details of this legendary vara. The vara... let me change my slide. There you go. The vara legend doesn't just describe a general refuge. It provides architectural specifications that are eerily similar to Derinkuyu. The text calls for a multi-level structure divided into 3 distinct sections. This mirrors the segmented multi-story design of the underground city. Crucially, the text mandates a water course, emphasizing the need for a protected internal water supply. We know Derinkuyu's deep well was its lifeline. And finally, the text mentions uncreated lights and created lights, suggesting the need for artificial illumination in a place cut off from the sun. This is exactly what the inhabitants of Derinkuyu relied on with their oil lamps. These parallels are too specific to ignore. So how do we reconcile this ancient blueprint with the physical reality of Derinkuyu. When we compare the Vara legend to Derinkuyu, the similarities are striking, but the differences are important too. Both are multi-level, self-sufficient structures designed for long-term survival. Both require an internal water source and artificial light. But the Vara was built to survive an ice age, while Derinkuyu was historically used to survive military invasions. Is the Vara a mythological allegory, a coincidence, or a cultural memory of a real, much older structure? Archaeology favors the latter, too, suggesting the legend preserves a memory of the need for an underground refuge. Regardless of the interpretation, this comparison highlights the universal human response to existential threats, and Derinkuyu is not alone in the response. Derinkuyu is certainly the deepest and most famous, but it's just one of a massive subterranean metropolis.
Man.
The Cappadocian region is riddled with over 200 cities and settlements. The network created a hidden second world beneath the surface. While Derinkuyu is the deepest, other cities like Kamekali are equally complex in their horizontal spread. Many of these cities were connected by kilometers of tunnels. Like the one actually going here, I think it was almost like 2 miles underground. You had to go from one city to the next.
That is crazy. Look at that. Is so Star Wars.
Right? Many of these cities were connected by kilometer tunnels, allowing residents to flee from one city to another before ever surfacing. Estimates suggest this combined network could shelter hundreds of thousands of people during times of crisis. This was a regional strategy for survival, not just an isolated city. Let's look at the incredible engineering that connected the two large cities. We've seen that the Derinkuyu is the largest city, but it wasn't isolated. The two largest cities are connected by an extraordinary engineering achievement. This is the Derinkuyu Kamekli Tunnel, an underground highway stretching nearly 9 kilometers. This tunnel wasn't just a convenience, it was their lifeline. It allowed thousands of people to evacuate safely and enable the sheltering of vital resources between the two population centers during a siege. The tunnel created a unified defense network, proving that these weren't just isolated bunkers, but a coordinated subterranean system. It's a testament to the strategic thinking of the people who built this network. But what about the city at the center of this other end? What about Kamekli? So, Kamekli is the other half of this massive complex. While Derinkuyu is the deepest, Kamekli is known as the widest of the underground cities. It has 8 levels, though only 4 are open to the public today. The passages here are distinctly different. They are lower, narrower, and more steeply inclined than Derinkuyu. This suggests a slightly different building style, or perhaps a different primary purpose. We see evidence of a strong Christian presence here too, including a church with a confirmed baptismal front. And Kamekli also offers a unique insight into the economy. We found an andesite stone block with 57 holes used for gold forming copper. This shows that production and industry continued even while hiding underground. But even with these two giants, we're still discovering more. The 2014 Nevashir discovery. Just when we thought we knew the scale of the network, a massive discovery in 2014 changed everything. During a construction project, Nevashir workers accidentally stumbled upon an enormous underground complex, the hilltop I'm sorry, beneath the hilltop castle. Early surveyors suggest this new city could be 30% larger than Derinkuyu. Now, think about that. Think about that. 30% larger than Derinkuyu. That's a skyscraper underground. That's enormous.
Wow.
Yeah. Think about that scale. We're talking about a city spanning over 460,000 square meters. Excavations are slow, but they're already revealing hidden churches, water channels, and a complex network of escape galleries. This discovery proves that our understanding of the subterranean world is far from complete. Many sections remain sealed, and new cities continue to emerge. And this isn't the only recent discovery that challenges our assumptions about capacity. No, no, no. Moving outside of Cappadocia proper, we find Mashiate in southern Turkey, southeastern Turkey rather, which may be the largest capital city of all. Discovered in 2020, this city is estimated to have sheltered up to 70,000 people. This is underground. 70,000 underground.
Didn't it take like a really long time for like London to have that many?
Yeah. Mashiate is unique because it was used continuously for over 1,900 years, primarily as a refuge for persecuted Jews and early Christians escaping Roman rule. We see evidence of this coexistence with the Star of David carved near a ceiling, alongside Christian places of worship. So far, only 49 rooms have been excavated, which is less than 5% of the estimated total. These recent discoveries show us that the impulse to build underground refuges was widespread. But why was Cappadocia the perfect place for the underground construction? And this is where it gets really interesting. After my sip of Yuengling. Delicious. Geologic perfection. The entire phenomenon of the underground cities comes down to one thing: geology. The region's unique volcanic rock, called tuff, is what made this massive construction possible. Millions of years ago, volcanoes erupted, covering the land in ash that solidified into this soft, porous rock. The key is that tuff is incredibly easy to carve with simple tools, but it hardens significantly upon exposure to air. This created a natural, self-supporting cement. This geological perfection meant ancient engineers could carve deep, durable structures without fear of collapse or flooding. Pardon me?
It's like basically the first episode, like first version of Minecraft, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. The same volcanic material that formed the famous fairy chimneys above ground is also providing the ideal conditions for creating a hidden world beneath our feet. Now, let's turn our attention to what life was actually like in this environment. And now we find out how cool it is. After exploring the city's ingenious design, we need to understand what it was like to actually live there. Living underground for months required extraordinary adaptation and a strong sense of community. Families lived in small carved rooms, but the entire city functioned as one organism. They used communal kitchens to manage smoke and conserve fuel, and they kept livestock on the upper levels. This wasn't just for convenience. The animals' body heat helped insulate the city during the cold winter months, and they had to be meticulous about sanitation. Waste was collected in sealed clay pots and only transported to the surface when it was safe. This intense shared experience forged a powerful bond among the inhabitants. But even a 3,000-year-old story must eventually come to an end. Let's look at how this incredible civilization finally went silent. After millennia of continuous use, the story of Derinkuyu finally ended in 1923. This abandonment was not due to the invasion or catastrophe, but a political decision. The population exchange between Greece and Turkey. The Christian Cappadocian Greeks who had maintained and used these cities for centuries were forced to leave their ancestral homes. This event served the human connection to severed the human connection to the tunnels. With departing, I can talk, I swear. With the departure of the people who knew the city's secrets, the knowledge of the intricate network was largely lost. The tunnel went silent, forgotten by the new inhabitants above. It took a lost chicken in 1963 to bring this incredible history back into the light.
Wow.
Yeah. Although there are more connections.
Now, when they found it again, were they able to like go back and like find anybody who had lived in it since it was like 40 years and get any more information from them?
Well, not that I've known. Apparently, there are people who would speak about it. I did find a reference in researching all of this where they would used to speak about their ancient homes underground, but apparently it was relegated to the grandparents talking about some long forgotten memory.
So really, all three major faiths can lay claim.
3?
Right? At one point, I mean,
Glad you brought that up.
we're moving.
The city's history is intertwined with the rise of Islam in the region, often through conflict. The primary reason Christians expanded and fortified Derinkuyu was to shelter from the Muslim Arab raids that swept throughout Anatolia between the 7th and 10th centuries. This period of conflict actually drove the city to its maximum population and sophistication. But later, under the Seljuk and Ottoman empires, the relationship shifted to one of coexistence. The region became a hub for Sufi mysticism. Just as Christian monks sought isolation in the caves, Muslim dervishes used their quiet grottos for spiritual retreat. This history shows that the city is a sacred landscape for more than one faith. So I'm glad you brought that up because that led right to our next slide.
That's kind of what I do. I guessed.
It's fascinating. The story of Derinkuyu is convergence of 3 major religious traditions, all meeting in the stone. For Christianity, the city was a physical sanctuary, an ark that preserved the early church during centuries of persecution. The Zoroastrian connection is fascinating. The striking architectural parallels to the Vara legend suggest that the ancient Persian mythology may have provided the blueprint for this survival bunker. And finally, Islam brought a period of both conflict and then coexistence. The caves provided spiritual isolation for both Christian monks and later Muslim dervishes. This unique atmosphere of shared holiness makes the region a truly sacred landscape. But despite all we've learned, many mysteries still linger.
I think Josh Gates will figure it out.
So, despite decades of research, fundamental questions about Derinkuyu remain unanswered. The biggest mystery is the excavated rock. Where did the millions of tons of rock tuff go? No massive spoil heaps have been found, suggesting a highly sophisticated method of disposal or repurposing. We also still debate the original builders. Did the Phrygians simply expand a much older structure, perhaps from the Hittites or even earlier? The lack of organic material make precise dating of the rock-cut rooms impossible. And with new discoveries still emerging, we have to ask, is the entire region a massive connected honeycomb of settlements? These mysteries remind us that we've only scratched the surface of this incredible place. In fact, Derinkuyu isn't just a historic footnote. It offers profound lessons for us today. This city is a living testament to human resilience and ingenuity. It demonstrates the sophisticated engineering capabilities of ancient people, proving that entire civilizations could adapt and thrive beneath the surface. As an UNESCO World Heritage Site, Derinkuyu is globally recognized as a masterpiece of human creative genius. It stands as a powerful physical monument to the length people will go to preserve their lives, their faith, and their culture against existential threat. The ongoing discoveries in the region, like the massive complex at Nevashir, show us that this archaeological frontier is still challenging our understanding of ancient urban planning. So how can we experience the world for ourselves? And this brings us to a very cool idea. A very, very, very cool idea. And that is, if you want to experience this wonder, you can visit Derinkuyu today. But be prepared for a unique adventure. The city is located in the Nevashir province of Cappadocia and is easily accessible from the main tourist hubs. Remember that the temperature stays a constant 55 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, so bring a jacket even in summer. Now, a word of caution. Only about 10% of the city is open to the public, and the passages are incredibly narrow and low. You'll spend a lot of time crouching, so this is not for the claustrophobic or those with limited mobility. But for those who can navigate the tunnels, you'll see the rolling stone doors, the ventilation shafts, and the evidence of 3 millennia of human life. This brings us to our final thoughts, what Derinkuyu truly represents. And this brings us to some of our concluding remarks. Derinkuyu represents a unique convergence in human history, where faith, survival, and engineering meet. We've seen that it was a sophisticated subterranean metropolis, an engineering marvel that provided life support for thousands deep underground. More importantly, it was a spiritual sanctuary that preserved early Christianity, allowing the faith to survive and flourish throughout centuries of persecution. From potential Hittite origins to its final use as a Christian refuge, Derinkuyu stands as a timeless testament to the indomitable human spirit, and it will survive against all odds. The stone remembers what history forgets, and this city reminds us that community, faith, and ingenuity are the ultimate tools for survival. Pretty cool, right?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. Actually, for at least a couple of years, Derinkuyu has been on my bucket list of I
Really?
definitely want to, when I first heard about it, I really like going to historical sites, and even non-historical sites that are just museums. I'll go to any museum, but just that kind of thing, I don't even know how to explain it. Number one, completely, you just don't expect it to exist,
Right.
Yeah.
And then how when you as we unpacked a little bit, when you think of all the different things they had to think about to make that possible at all, to live there for any
Right.
amount of time, and I even get into my brain goes to I compare what building codes or whatever, oh man, to what specification did they make the height, ceiling heights or something like that,
How big do the porta potties have to be?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
How wide did the ventilation shafts have to go? What kind of fume reducing properties did the clay pots for waste storage? I don't know.
That's crazy that only 10% is open to the public.
Honestly, that's an impressive. Well, and then when you mentioned like some of the parts were up to 50%,
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap, that's actually like really impressive that they got that much open.
Right.
Because usually when you talk about like unstable stuff like that, we get to see like a very small amount of it if it's open at all.
That's the fascinating thing is that the rock itself actually is like concrete. So once exposed to the air, it solidifies. Kind of like how that's why Roman architecture survives to this day because concrete hardens over time.
Huh.
So everything the Romans built is more solid now than it was when they built it.
It'd be pretty rad if they could like sell like
Yeah.
big pieces of this rock. You know how like they have like the kinetic stand? Like actually my kid's birthday party, we just got like one of those like where it's like the sand that you can kind of like model a little bit more or whatever. And like what if you instead of that like the kinetic sand set, you could get like a box of this like volcanic rock and
Yeah.
you could carve into it.
That'd be super
That'd be
cool.
fascinating.
Sick your 5-year-old on that.
It is part of this. Part of this, I really want to dive. I'm still researching some of this.
Yeah.
I'll be honest because the more I dive into the Younger Dryas, the more I'm finding, and that's why I'm actually looking. I'm really looking forward to us doing an episode on the Younger Dryas. And there's more and more archaeology saying something actually did happen. I mean, so I've always said that the worldwide flood was a localized flood.
Mhm.
Maybe there's more to it than that because I'm digging up more and more and more. And I'm not saying it covered everything on the planet. I'm not saying that at all. But the more I'm diving into a recent ice age, the more I'm thinking there might be relations to that. Because the Younger Dryas was definitely a small ice age.
Yeah.
And it looks like we were born, the human species was kind of born during that ice age. Like we thrived. Like other creatures were dying off. For some reason, we thrived in it.
If you know, like listening or reading books about like human history, wasn't that right around what they would call like the cognitive revolution, like where we went from like Cro-Magnon hunter gatherers to like it sounded like they're like even though we were the same species, I'm very vaguely remembering the description of this, but like even though we were the same species all along, like the modern Cro-Magnon human, aka us, at some point underwent this revolution where we went from like pure like survival hunting to starting to think about ceremonial burial and
Right.
all these and art and all these things.
Let's not be too poo-poo on the other species. I mean, we did find out recently that Neanderthals actually did have burial rites and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So there
That might be a bad example.
So the other species did show some cognizance.
We should probably still have Neanderthals in like Washington, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure you're correct.
And to be, when as soon as you mentioned this place was on UNESCO's, one of UNESCO's heritage sites, I'm like, oh crap, it's probably on one of America's bucket list to bomb.
Probably.
And I'm like, we've destroyed so many heritage sites.
So many.
Since 2000.
Yeah.
I might be thinking of a different book or like a different term because actually this is referring to it as behavioral modernity, and that came around 50,000 years ago, which would have overlapped significantly with Neanderthal.
Yeah. It's so. What's really interesting is because of things that we're discovering, like Göbekli Tepe, I'm thinking that it might coincide with the end of the last ice age, and so I'm rethinking things now in all of the stuff I'm reading, and it's like, wait a minute. We probably did go underground during an ice age. So maybe some of these underground cities were created during the Younger Dryas. Maybe that is why we still exist now. So,
well, we were already growing in caves long before that.
Well, yeah, but
like,
but we're talking about advanced.
Right. I mean, but like even just like oh man, holy crap! There's this like amazing rock that basically is like clay in my hands until I finish digging it.
Right.
And like if you had already been like using caves for various things, you would find this and be like, oh crap, I can make my own cave.
It,
This
it,
is freaking amazing.
it just doesn't make sense to me because I saw Prometheus, and that has to be true.
Prometheus is like gospel. Love the alien movies.
Speaking of like media and this kind of thing, like there's a lot of media that like romanticize maybe isn't the right word, but like this awe and wonder, or like this idea of living in an underground society is a very popular concept that comes over. And when I first heard about Derinkuyu, the first thing I thought of is like a few years before that I read The Hunger Games and the third book. There's always this going on, like, it's probably a spoiler alert, but if you haven't read The Hunger Games, sorry. Yeah. Like,
I watched the movies.
there you go. You're good. Yeah. Like, so, throughout the whole time, they're like, they mentioned that there was a District 13 until there wasn't a District 13. And then you find out later.
Wait, was that in Iran?
You find out later that District 13 is this massive underground bunker. They just went into hiding, preparing for their moment where they're going to overtake.
No, I'll never be able to watch the next movie.
So I think of that. I also think a little bit like, and this is less like thinking about the whole structure than like individual like parts of it, but I think of various parts of The Last of Us video game. Like in particular, there's a part where you're going through post-zombie apocalypse Pittsburgh, and you're in like a bunch of sewer tunnels, and you're seeing where they like built schools into the sewer tunnels while they were trying to like hide from the zombies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or Mario Brothers.
Right, same thing.
But even like thinking about today, like what we practically end up doing, like they achieved basically as much or more than we've achieved today in terms of like actually living underground. Like you can count on a very small number of hands the kind of places you could go that we've built in modern times. Especially if you only count places where you could actually go as a normal person.
Yeah.
That go that deep underground and have those kind of facilities.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. I do find it fascinating. And I will say, it does make me wonder because there's so many legends of underground cities. Like, not just pop culture, but even inside of like classical literature and stuff. In fact, even in some of Orwell's stuff, there's Time Machine. There's underground species that live then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like embedded in our culture, which makes you wonder if we don't have like a genetic memory towards it.
The body remembers.
Yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
like I was telling my son earlier, our genes do pass memories on to the next generation. I mean, that's why a kitten, if it's never seen another cat, will still chase a mouse. So we do pass memories on through our DNA. And it does make you wonder if we haven't echoed those memories from generation to generation through our, let's say, embedded memories.
The idea of it thriving under a persecuted faith, because of persecution, you know what I mean? It does resonate.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, especially when you think the major three were all competing for dominance.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I jive with that theory for sure.
Here's another layer. I don't know if this is true for Derinkuyu, but I started thinking about other massive ancient archaeological architecture or architecture like that we don't recognize immediately. And in North America, I think South America too, to a certain extent, there was like an effort when they found like the massive mounds or earthworks that Native Americans had made.
Oh yeah, that's right.
To actually like basically like cover them over.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these people, like we can't insinuate that these people were actually really sophisticated and amazing builders. Like there's an article, I forget where it was, but it was like a few years ago. There was work. Did they officially make it a UNESCO heritage site, like the mounds?
Serpentine is, yeah,
What's with
serpentine.
the serpent ones?
Yep.
Oh yeah. So like there was a whole article in one like major peer article about like the effort to make that happen, and like they're having to like talk through how part of this future UNESCO heritage site is covered by a golf course, and they're not sure how to resolve that yet.
Yes. Yes.
So like to us, it looks like, because we've had people just, just bulldozing over it or whatever, it looks to us just like, well, those were just hills.
Yeah.
But man, like you go to I forget the name of the one outside of, it was in Illinois, right? Yeah. Why did I go there? What city? Oh, I was coming from St. Louis, and we were going back in like I think it's southern Illinois. There's a major earthworks, and you're just walking up this massive hill that was it was people moving dirt. It wasn't there before. And it happened like over 1,000 years ago or something. But then also there's like a lot of like irrigation style stuff that's like massive earthworks in like the Amazon, for instance. And like people just were like, oh, that's just the way the river goes. It's like, nah, actually that was terraforming. Like, and like, so like Derinkuyu stands out because when you finally did find it, okay, you can't really deny these tunnels or whatever, but all over in ancient times, like, over these thousands of years, people everywhere were doing whatever they could with the style of soil and rock and whatever they had.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. And like a lot of our geopolitical circumstances that are perpetrated by powerful people who often want to minimize the cultural achievements of the people who came before them, like cause us to overlook these things. Like, oh, this exchange of people that just causes us to lose entire cultural memory of Derinkuyu.
Yeah.
Or, the conquistadors coming into South America, and like, oh, anybody who could have told us about this thing, conveniently got, whatever virus or bacteria that came over from Europe. Like there's a lot of maybe not 100% intentional, but there's a lot of people like hiding this, like these things that we should take joy in, like common human joy in the achievements all around the world. Like none of us should be mad that if our ancestors come from Europe, but there were Native Americans moving huge mounds of dirt around like that like, oh, they're like, we should be mad because actually they have greater cultural achievements than like we thought they did or something like that. That should be like a moment of pride.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of people who want us to be tribal and minimize everything about any other group other than our own. And I think it leaks a little bit into weird, crazy historical things like this.
For sure. Yeah.
Whatever, Graham Hancock.
Yeah, I really went around the circle there.
Just for the record, Josh Gates has done this on his show, the city of he went underground in the city of Derinkuyu on his show Expedition Unknown. So
Fascinating.
I'm sure it'd be a cool episode to watch.
Yeah, it would be.
I've probably seen it, actually, because I've seen most of his stuff.
Nice.
He trips me out, though, man.
Oh, shoot. My one other I had my little list of questions I was queuing.
Oh, here's one more.
I don't think we can answer this one. But, because we barely know anything about the people who actually like stayed in there when they stayed in there.
Man, Grok can.
But I was thinking about there must have been like a skeleton, like in times of peace when they didn't need to stay in there. There must have been like a skeleton crew staying behind or something. Because that would be freaking cool to be someone who like lived in the city when it wasn't full capacity.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't pass that up.
That would be cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think they actually have the answers to that one.
Yeah, I don't know how they would figure that one out.
So, well, Keith, last thoughts?
Oh man, I think I got them all out, but I mean this stuff is freaking cool. This is one of the cooler things. I'm trying to think of a category. It's like one of the cooler things that exists. Is my very
Nice. Gubby?
I feel more cultured, and I learned a lot. And there's nothing taboo over brew.
All right. Please check us out on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on X, formerly Twitter. And we're on all your favorite podcast platforms. Spotify, Google, Apple, you name it. Check us out. We're now on YouTube. Please check us out. If you need any cool stuff, cool stuff. Good fight. Good night.
Peace out.